my sons are 31, 27, 23. None of them watch linear television.
Exactly.
If they do it through the YouTube app. Right. I read the other day that 10% of American television watchers who have a TV set, a smart TV, they watch television through the YouTube app, and only 23% watch network television on their smart TV. And those graphs are going like this. You can see that in 5 years' time, YouTube is highly likely to be the number one thing that people use as an app on their smart TV to watch television. So I'm going where the real action is going.
It's a crazy world, crazy world. Somebody's gotta have to save you. It's a crazy world. It's a crazy world. Somebody's gotta have to save
As a Brit, do you find it odd or a little bizarre that you have to spend so much time talking about American politics, or is that just kind of the way of the world at the moment? We've got the number one show and you're a host.
You know what? It's exactly that. I mean, I've worked on American media, television primarily since 2006. I was a judge on America's Got Talent. I then did a show called Celebrity Apprentice, where a certain guy called Donald Trump picked me as his first apprentice, which may explain a lot of things. I was a member of that his last words, I think, before he made me the apprentice in the live finale were Piers. He said, "You're tough, you're ruthless, you're arrogant, you're obnoxious, but you beat the hell out of everybody. So you're possibly evil, I don't know, but you beat the hell out of everybody and you're my apprentice." So when he won the presidency, I sent him a note. I said, "Donald, you're tough, you're ruthless, you're obnoxious, you're arrogant, you're possibly evil, I don't know, but you beat the hell out of the opposition and you're the president of the United States." He did laugh. So I threw the words back at him. But yeah, and then I obviously did CNN for 4 years in the days when CNN, had a pretty different kind of view of how they went about covering news. Very down the middle.
I wanted to ask you about that, actually, so feel free to go on that.
Yeah, there were very, very strong standards and practices instilled in you. I remember the trouble I used to have just getting Donald Trump on air on my show to interview him. He was always a great interview. He always got great ratings. And back then, he was just a TV star and a property mogul. Obviously, the trouble started at CNN when he became a politician, because they helped get him elected, gave him acres of airtime in that 2015-16 cycle. And then a bit like Dr. Frankenstein, when they think they've lost control of their monster, they then try to kill him off, and it was too late. But I've watched CNN with great interest because I've got a lot of time and affection for the place. I had a great 4 years there. And it's interesting to me, there are lots of very good hosts there who I really respect and admire. But there are some who could barely contain their hatred of not just Trump, but everything on the right, really. And it was just very transparent in a way that would never have been allowed before when I was at CNN. You couldn't be that obvious about which way your political leanings were. But you look at people like Anderson Cooper now and you think, come on, man, stop pretending, right? We know you're not running down to vote for the Republicans, okay? You make it so obvious. And I think that's a shame because...
Wait a minute, are you telling me that Dana Bash and Jake Tapper are not Republicans? Is that what you're telling me, Piers?
Well, no, but I think in both those cases, actually, I would defend the fact that I've watched them a lot. I'm a big admirer of both of them. I do think they try hard to be, impartial. They don't always succeed, but I do think they try hard. I think some of the others, I remember when Don Lemon was there, very, very partial in his obvious leanings on air. I think Anderson's the same. I think quite a few others are. And there are others like, Wolf Blitzer, John King, and others who are completely impartial. So they've got a mixed bag there. But generally speaking, people no longer perceive CNN as the voice that people go to for utterly impartial news coverage. And that is a shame for the brand. And I wish that it was different because I think CNN has an important place in the American media where it's not perceived by people, or never used to be, as a politically partisan network.
I think you're completely right, which is why everyone beats up on CNN, because people know what Fox is. They know what MSNBC is. People want CNN to be better. I would say, including me. I'll have a little mea culpa with you. When you took over for my friend Larry King, he was my friend and mentor, and put me on TV for the first time ever. And I was kind of like, well, who is this Piers Morgan taking over for Larry King? And you had you did the interview show there for 4 years, is that right?
Yeah.
And were you seeing the change happening yet, or did it happen kind of after? It's a long time ago already. I mean, what is that, a good 7 years ago, something like that?
Yeah, I mean, I left CNN in 2014, that's 10 years ago.
Oh, wow, 10 years
but I was there
ago.
from 2010 to 2014. Yeah, look, I had a great time there. I did a lot of amazing interviews. And it was a time when they had the license for someone like me to do genuine interview shows rather than just endless debate politics shows, which is what it's kind of morphed into. I just think it's really important. CNN goes through a bit of a struggle with its identity right now. And I think they've got some very bright young stars coming through. I think Caitlin Collins is a big star to me in the making. I look at her and think, yeah, absolutely. She was a very good correspondent.
My director is shaking his head no, but everyone's entitled to their opinion.
And I do think when she was a correspondent, I always felt during the Trump presidency, she was extremely fair and impartial, as opposed to someone like Jim Acosta and others who like to lock horns with Trump and play to their liberal fans. So I think that they've got an identity struggle, which is ironic given how much they bang on about identities. But I think that they'll probably sort it out, because America needs a strong and impartial CNN to be someone people can go to who are not really sure what to think about stuff, but think they're going to get a fair shake. But I would look at the panels that CNN get together and compare them to mine. And if I was CNN, I'd be coming to me going, we should put your show on, right? Because actually, that's what CNN should be. 1 or 2 from either side, 2 and 2 from either side, completely fair in the airtime we give people with contrary opinions. Often what they do at CNN, they have 4 liberals and 1 conservative. That's
Right.
not fair. Immediately, the optics look like they're skewed.
Do you think it matters anymore in a certain respect whether CNN or anything from the mainstream media survives? I mean, I've seen the numbers that you're pulling in lately. We're crushing it, Megyn Kelly. I mean, there's a new selection of people, some of whom I probably don't even know, let's say on the other side, that are filling that void. Now, I know we're all going off into our own little corridor and there's some danger there, but does it really matter whether the New York Times or Washington Post or CNN survive this thing?
Ultimately, no, I don't think it does. It'll be like every jungle, survival of the fittest. And it'll be where, I've got 3 sons who've been very instrumental in the way I've taken my career, for example, because I've done lots of linear television in my time. And I did the morning show in the UK for 5 years. And, I did CNN, like I said, and other stuff. But my sons are 31, 27, 23. None of them watch linear television.
Mm-hmm.
If they do it through the YouTube app. Right. I read the other day that 10% of American television watchers who have a TV set, a smart TV, they watch television through the YouTube app, and only 23% watch network television on their smart TV. And those graphs are going like this. You can see that in 5 years' time, YouTube is highly likely to be the number one thing that people use as an app on their smart TV to watch television. So I'm going where the real action is going. And, I've got 3.2 million subscribers now to Piers Morgan Uncensored in just over 2 years. We did a debate yesterday on the US presidential race, and obviously the assassination attempt and so on. So like 1.4 million people have watched, to be watching for an average of 20 minutes. Those kind of numbers would be like a gold mine to CNN right now. And they're global, but we're 45% American viewers. In relation to your question earlier, America is the big show in town. You are the big dog. I know that. You know that. And I've worked out pretty quickly that on YouTube, for example, if we do America-centric content, which is always going to appeal to an American audience, the rest of the world will follow it and enjoy it. If we do UK-centric content, a lot of Americans go, no thanks. So that's not necessarily to your credit as a country, but it is a harsh reality that Americans have far less interest in non-American stuff than we have in American stuff. And that applies not just to the UK, but Australia, the Middle East, and everywhere. So I think there's an undeniable fact. So again, we're going where the eyeballs are, and where, to be honest with you, where the biggest action is.
If you're looking for more uncensored opinions from today's thought leaders, check out our media playlist. And if you want to watch full interviews on a variety of topics, watch our full episode playlist, all right over here. And to get notified of all future videos, be sure to subscribe and click the notification bell.